All right, Bitcoin has now crashed from 92K to 90K, so let's make a quick update. In our previous update, which was actually on our Telegram channel, we talked about a series of things going on here. And honestly, this is not at all easy, folks. This thing is super, super complicated. And it's so complicated because there's a lot of uncertainty in the markets. Most traders do not know what's going on. They don't know if we've topped, they don't know if we've bottomed yet, they don't know what's going on, and that reflects on the price. So it's a little bit more difficult to analyze. That difficulty results in a plethora of potential outcomes, which is why you see a lot of lines here. But let's try to look at what's going on here as objectively as possible. And of course, to do that, we need to go back to the past, slightly to the past anyway, to see the full picture. What's actually going on? This is the 2-hourly time frame, and I'm quickly switching to the 4-hourly time frame so that the chart can fit in here perfectly for your view. And as you can see, Mr. BTC hit its local top at about $126,000 right here, and we started our decline. We've been down since then. What's important to note about this move to the downside is that we've had 2 complete waves to the downside, not 3, 2. And usually we'd use 3 for our entire strategy. So the first wave is actually from that local top right here at about 126K to this local bottom right here at about 102K. The second wave is starting here at about 116K to here at about 80K. So those are the 2 complete waves. Ideally, by our strategy, we'd use 3, which means that we must still be expecting a scenario where BTC still has some type of move to the downside here. It's not what we'd like, but we should just know that that's possible. Not entirely certain, but possible. Since we got that out of the way, we know that there's a potential bigger move to the downside. Yeah, we just have that in mind. Let's now focus on this particular segment right here. We now zoom into that segment. As you will know if you've been following this page religiously, you'll understand that Fibonacci actually depends on proving the tops or bottoms. So for you to say that BTC has topped, you must be able to provide evidence for that top. Or for you to say that BTC has bottomed, you must be able to provide evidence for that bottom. The reason why I am reluctant or even hesitant to say that BTC has met its true top is because I cannot provide that evidence given my Fibonacci strategy. I cannot say that it's topped because Fibonacci does not tell me that it's topped. Now, it doesn't mean that it cannot top without me having any evidence for it. It just means that I do not have the proof. Yeah, my strategy does not allow me to say that it's topped. I hope you understand. So for this particular move right here, I had evidence for this top, which is what I was telling you on Telegram the other day. Now, it also does not mean that it can't go higher than that. It does not mean that it must end here. I want to make people actually understand this. When I say that this should be the top, I'm not saying that it must stop there. All I am saying is, given my strategy, that is what I'd consider to be the top. It's the same thing to the downside as well. If you followed on Telegram the other day, I also told you that from this particular zone right here, I would be expecting BTC to go back up to 92K. Why? Because I had evidence to suggest that this right here was the bottom. Of course, it's not the ultimate bottom, but it's the local bottom of this particular drop. That's what I was actually saying right here. You can see my arrow indicating a move back to the upside right here. So I hope you understand what's going on. Now, from the 1.618 Fibonacci level, which is the top right here, again, according to Fibonacci, depending on the top, you can have an idea of where it should bottom. So if we have the top at the 1.618 Fibonacci, the ideal bottom of that particular top will be at the 0.786 Fibonacci level, which is why we came down into this zone right here and we moved back to the upside. Now we start to look at the particular drop, which is why I said this thing is not easy. That's why I began by saying that this thing is not easy. It's very difficult. It's difficult as hell because it gets super confusing fast. But, well, I don't really lose sight of it. So let's just get on. So for this particular drop right here, you can see that we had a 1, 2, 3, yes, and then a retracement back up before the bigger move down. This is on the 4-hourly time frame, but if we go to like the 30-minute, then you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So you see that as we zoom in, what we're saying just becomes very clear, yes? So this is the 1, 2, 3 right here, and then we had a big retracement back up here before the next big move to the downside. This is why they say that the markets are always in a fractal, because what we see on the 30-minute time frame will repeat on the daily time frame, and that on the daily time frame may repeat on the weekly, and that on the weekly may repeat on the monthly, and so on and so forth. It's like this Russian dolls that you have a bigger one and a smaller one inside the other. Yeah, that's how the markets actually work, interestingly. So the problem here is that for this particular drop, its ultimate bottom goes lower than the 786 that we spoke about. This 786 from this 1.618. However, it's 1.618, which is here, closely aligned with this 786, which is why I was telling you in that update that there's a very good chance that we go up. I was actually telling you somewhere around here. I was telling you that it's difficult, but I think it's, this is here. I was telling you here that it gets tedious, but for now, I think we bounce. That is why I was telling you that we bounce, because I saw this strong support right here. So we therefore now went back to the 76 of this particular drop, and then we got rejected sharply, which therefore means that the lower CME gap at about 88K may be met. And I'm thinking that it will happen soon. So what's the ultimate zone here? I know you'd be watching this and perhaps you get confused and you'll be like, yeah, so what are we actually waiting for here? Well, the analysis does indicate that BTC will most likely be headed for the 88.2 to 87.1K zone. This will actually be a minimum for BTC. I'd be very surprised if we just reversed from here and, shot right up. It's also possible, by the way, but I'd be very surprised, and I don't have evidence to suggest that it's going to do that. The most likely scenario is that we come down into this zone right here where we form a potential bottom for the move to the upside, or we go on a meteoric crash to the downside. What zones to the downside are we talking about? Well, to see that, we have to zoom back out. We have to zoom out to the 4-hourly time frame, and I have a zone here at about 85.5, but I don't think that will hold in the event where we actually do have that crash. Honestly, I don't think it will hold, because even just this right here, this consolidation right here, this can be regarded as a B wave, which means that a bigger C might come. So in that event, 85.5 will not hold. So to the downside, that's lower than that. We could see even as low as 82K and possibly lower. But we don't have enough evidence to suggest that just yet. We might as well just hold in these upper levels right here and move back to the upside. As price continues to update us with new data, we will continue to make updates. So don't get scared just yet. Follow from our update.